So today we are going to cover another topic for SA2 revision, and we'll be doing fractions. So are you all ready with paper, pencils or pen, and some readiness? Yeah. All right. So we'll start the session now, if everything is fine. Okay, so just a brief introduction of myself. For those of you who have not been here last week, I graduated in NIE with a degree in maths, and since then, from 2005, I have been teaching with MOE all the way till 2011. Yeah, so that was about 10 years ago, and from 2011 all the way till today, I have still been a maths tutor. I tutor from primary school all the way to secondary school, all the way to secondary 4. Yeah. And I really enjoy maths, learning about it over the years, and I like to make maths come alive. Yeah. Because maybe for myself as a student, it was very hard for me to see how maths was applicable to real life. So when I started to see how maths can be seen in real life and the things that I observe around me, I get very excited about it, and I want students under me to also experience that same kind of excitement. And I take a lot of joy in imparting a lot of sense and understanding to my students. Yeah, a lot of them ask questions, and it's good to answer their questions. Then when they understand, they realize, hey, actually maths can be very interesting. So if you were to look at the photos on the right hand side of the screen, the top is actually how I do my online lessons. Yeah, that was during the circuit breaker period where I had lessons with P5 students, and at times they would also have the chance to annotate their answers. Yeah, and we'll go through them together. And at the bottom, you see a photo of this student. She's currently in secondary 3, so doing her revision for the SA2. Yeah. Okay, so if you would like to know more about what I do, you can connect with me over Facebook. You can like my Facebook page, Learning at Miss Yao's. Okay, so over here. Yeah, and from time to time, I do post certain observations about my lessons, certain tips, certain things that I learn from my students. Yeah, actually, I do learn things from my students as well. They share interesting things, and I post them up. And secondly, I do have a tuition blog, learnwithmichelle.wordpress.com. So from there, I do share a little bit more in depth about certain reflections that I have about learning maths. And lastly, this is new. It's actually a YouTube channel that I've just created, just dedicated to mathematics. If you were to look at the top right-hand corner, you'll see this picture of this photo snapshot taken from YouTube. Yeah, this is what you will see when you actually click on youtube.com under my link. And if you have missed last week's lesson, or you attended last week's lesson but you would like to revisit the concept, you can actually click on the button over here, and you can actually view the lesson from start to end. Yeah. Okay. And of course, there are other resources that you can go to as well. Like for example, if you if you want to know more about number patterns, yeah, you can click on this. This is applicable to primary school and secondary school. So although the questions that I extracted is taken from a primary school paper, but the ideas, the concepts can actually be applied to secondary school as well. Yeah, and I do have other mini lessons, like for example, if you were to scroll down, some of you may have started to learn about things like triangles. Okay, some of you who joined the group here, maybe in primary 5, want to learn how to construct triangles, construct angles. I do have these as well. So do check this YouTube channel. Every now and then, I will upload new stuff that you can learn. And hopefully, as you click and as you listen along, you will get a better understanding about mathematics. Yeah, so just feel free, share it if you find that it's useful as well. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so before I start the lesson, I would always like to share with you a little bit about how we cope with regards to learning, how we cope with regards to studying. And today we're just going to touch a little bit about how we cope during revision time. Okay, of course, this year is a special year. This year we have so many days of HBL. You know, we have our term 3 that is super long, so on and so forth. It's not easy, yeah. But how do we cope, knowing that exam is in about 2 to 3 weeks time? Okay, I do have this acronym that I would like to share with you, and um, it actually starts with C and then O, P, and E. So C, it actually stands for concentrate. So concentrate with no distractions at the table. I think this is really important when we want to do revision, and when there are no distractions at the table, that actually helps us to focus on what we need to and not think about what we do not need to. Yeah. Secondly is to open your mind to learn new ways of solving questions. You know, sometimes when we see a certain question, we tell ourselves, yeah, I already know this thing, you know, I don't want to waste my time to look at it again. But sometimes we do see an alternative method to solving it. And if we open our mind, we see how maths is being played out in other ways. We see alternative solutions, alternative methods. Yeah, sometimes a question can have two solutions. Yeah, and you'll be surprised. Thirdly is to plan. Plan a time to review what you have learned. Now, when you learn something that your teacher has taught you, what your tutor has taught you, and you understand, that's good. Following that, you need to review. And if you do plan a time to review, what happens is that your memory, the memory of what you have learned actually stays longer, and you are able to apply in other areas of the same topic or even other subjects as well. Okay, so planning is key, especially with regards to retaining whatever that you have learned that is new. And lastly, enjoy the process of learning. Yeah, I cannot emphasize this more. If you enjoy lessons, if you enjoy learning, if you see an a spark, you know, in whatever that you are covering, you actually want to know more and more about it. And sometimes even after the lesson, you will want to search up more in depth into a certain topic. Yeah, maybe fractions could be frustrating to you today, but if you see in another light, maybe who knows, you might want to spend your free time looking up into more aspects of fractions. Yeah, so if you look at the photo there, you see a boy holding up something facing the computer. Yeah, that's actually my son. That was taken during the circuit breaker period where he was meeting his teacher over Google Meets. And I took this photo because I thought that it actually showed his joy of learning. And I was really proud as a parent seeing that he enjoys learning even though he's not physically in school, even though he's only seeing his teacher over the screen. I hope that you can also catch on this joy of learning during revision time. It's never too late. Now, last week, before I ended the lesson, I posed a challenge question to everyone. Yeah, and Estelle was the first student who actually sent me an email almost immediately after the lesson that she has completed it and she managed to solve the question. Yeah, so well done, Estelle. Yeah, you did really, really well. And the answer to the question was correct. Yeah, so I'm really proud of you. Okay, now we are going to move on to fractions. Today's topic is on fractions, and if you look at Donald Duck on the right hand side, you will see a very, very frustrated face. Yeah, I'm not sure when your teacher is going through fractions with you, do you have a frustrated looking face as well? Yeah, do you look like that? And you tried so many means and ways to solve the problem on fractions, but you are not able to? Well, hopefully today's session will be something that is useful to you and you're able to apply the concepts in the exam. Okay, so fraction tells you about the proportion of equal parts of a whole. Okay, so that's why you have the numerator, the number of parts, and you have the denominator, which would stand for the total number of parts. Now, usually it is expressed in the simplest form, or some books would say lowest term. Yeah, and thirdly, it can be converted into decimals, as you would have already learned. And for those students here who are in primary 5, you will realize that fractions can be converted into ratio and percentages. So P4 students here, if you hear these, these terms, ratio and percentage, next year you will find that it's very familiar. Okay, now we'll move on. So let's take a look at some of the questions, and we'll start with the first school. So the first school will be taken from ACS Junior. It's from last year's papers, by the way. Okay, so let's take about a minute to look through this, and after that we'll go through the answers. Havana has already finished. Wow, okay, that's fast. Anyone else still doing this question? Okay, actually time is about up. All right, so yep. Okay, let's go through this question together. So which of the following mixed numbers is represented by the letter B in the number line shown? Okay, let's take a look at it. So B is over here, as we can see it. Yeah. So are there any answers that is definitely wrong? Actually, you could unmute yourself if you would like to share any answer that is definitely wrong based on the number line. You see the number 2, 3, and 4, right? Any number that is definitely wrong?
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2, right? Yeah, you can just pick up Pavana. Thanks. Yeah, so it becomes more interactive. Yeah, 1 and 2 definitely wrong. Why?
Because B is after number 3, so it has to be either 3 or 4.
Yes. Okay. So if the arrow at B is after 3 and before 4, that means it cannot be more than 4. It cannot be less than 3. So the answer has to have a 3 in the whole number portion. Agree? Okay, so let's see what's B actually. So if you notice from 3 to 4, you need to count the number of divisions, the number of intervals. Okay, and that will give you the total interval between 3 and 4, which will make up the denominator. So the interval will be as such: first one, second one, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Okay, so knowing that the whole number is 3, our denominator will actually be 6 because there are 6 intervals altogether. And B, where the arrow is, that will indicate how many intervals have been taken out. So if B is here, that means this portion here has been taken out. So how many units have been taken out? We realize that there are 4 units taken out. Yeah, so answer is 3 and 4, 6, but anyhow, our answer is not there. So any idea how we're going to get to our answer? Since you got 3 and 4, 6.
Simplify.
That's right, thanks. So simplify. We know that 4 and 6, we can simplify them by dividing it by 2. So it's 3 and 2/3. So our answer will be option 3. Okay, so how many of you managed to get it? Yep, everyone? Okay, all right. So we'll move on to the next question. If you do not have time to write down the working, you can always refer back to it when I send you the slides. or I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel. Take a look at it. The whole recorded version will be there. So from start to end, you actually get to see the annotations and everything. Okay, we'll move on. So this is another MCQ question. Take a minute or two to work this out and we'll go through it together. Twenty seconds more. If you're done, you can just put a thumbs up. Pavana, I saw your thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Okay, time is up. Let's go through the answer now. So, what are your answers? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
3 also.
3. Answer is 3. Okay. All right. Let's take a look and see. Or maybe any one of you would like to share this?
Because she used 2 by 5 kg of the sugar and 3 by 10 kg, since both have the units, they are also referring to 3 kg. So 3 by 10 kg plus 2 by 5 kg, which also equals to 3 by 10 kg plus 4 by 10 kg is 7 by 10 kg.
Okay. That's
Then
right.
after that, I did 3 kg minus 7 by 10 kg and I got 2 3 by 10 kg.
Okay. So over here, when you have 3 as the whole number, you have to do a regrouping, right? So 3 you could regroup as 2 wholes, 10 out of 10. Do you do that?
Yes, and then I got 1. So I got 3 by 10 and then I put the 2 holes.
Okay, that's great. So no problem for this question. So option will be 3. So this is rather straightforward. Yeah. Okay. It's all right. We'll move on to the next one. The harder ones are back at the back, by the way. So this is question 43. Let's take a moment to try this as well. Seconds more. Okay, time is up. You are still doing the question? This would definitely be slightly more challenging than the previous few, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the question. Shopkeeper had a total of 1,028 apples and oranges. He sold 1/3 of his apples and 73 oranges. He then had an equal number of apples and oranges left. So what fraction of apples had he left? This is quite straightforward compared to B. So he has his total number of apples and he sold 1/3. So what is the fraction of apples that he had left? So total number. Yes. You say something, Estelle?
2/3.
2/3, yeah. Okay, because the total number of apples would mean that's one whole, right? So you take away 1/3, so that would be a remainder of 2/3. Okay, that's for A. Now, how many apples did he sell? Probably we will need to express the information here in terms of a model that will help us see it more clearly. So we have apples and oranges. He sold 1/3 of his apples and 73 oranges. Okay, so let's see. If he sold 1/3 of his apples, that means altogether he would have 3 units of apples. So I'm going to draw 3 units of apples. And the shaded portion is sold. Okay. Now, the unshaded one is not sold. And so happen, whatever number of apples that is not sold is also the number of oranges that is left. So for oranges, the unshaded portion over here is whatever that is left. Now, we need to put in our 73 oranges that he has sold. However, we do not know how big or how small a proportion 73 oranges is. But it's okay. I'll just put down a small portion here and I'll list it as 73, label as 73. Now, where can we put 1028 now that we have drawn all the units? Yeah, we realize that this is a total, so we could put it by the side here. Total of 1028 apples and oranges. However, you notice that for the units for apples and oranges, they're of different sizes. So what we could do to the big unit under oranges, we could divide it into 2 smaller units. Yeah. Okay, so now I think we should be able to solve this question. How can we solve this? You realize that 1028 is actually made up of 5 units and 73. Yeah? Okay, so let's try to find what 1 unit is first. So we have 5 units plus 73. That gives you 1028. What can we do to find 5 units?
1028 minus 73.
Yeah, we take away 73. So after taking it away, we will have 955. And from here, quite easily, we can find what 1 unit is. So 1 unit will be 955 divided by 5, and that will give you 191. Okay, now that we know what 1 unit is, if we look at the question, how many apples did he sell? That's just 1 unit, right? So that's the answer. He sold 191 apples. So that's the answer for B. Yeah, do you all manage to get it? Yeah. Okay, all right, that's great. So this probably is one question to look out for. Yeah. A is not too difficult, but B is tricky. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next one. Aitong School. So we'll start with an MCQ question. This should be quite easy. I think could I give you like 30 seconds for this? Okay, we'll start now. Havana finished already. Wow. You're really fast. Lightning speed. Estelle also. Alright. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Baker Lee sold 5/8 of his muffins, 120 muffins left. So whatever that is sold is whatever that is not left, right? So what is the fraction of muffins that's left?
3/8.
Yes. So it's 3 out of 8, and that's actually 120. So we can find the number of muffins at first. We could say that 3 units makes 120, and we need to find what 1 unit is. So 1 unit will be 120 divided by 3, that gives 40. And the number of muffins at first, we will always look at the denominator. Denominator says 8 units. So if 1 unit is 40, 8 units will be 8 times of 40, 320. Okay, so this is just a warm-up. We'll move on to the next one. Question 15. Okay, all right, let's take a look at this question. Question 15. The table below shows the favorite sports of some students. Each student is allowed to choose only one sport, so there is no overlap of selection. Half of the students like volleyball. Now, what can be observed from just this sentence here? If half of the students like volleyball, what can you say about the fraction of students who like swimming and soccer?
Swimming and soccer is also half.
Yes. So this question expects you to make this conclusion on your own. If you're not able to, then you'll find that you're stuck. Yeah, so it's good that you're able to find out. So half of the students, we are able to find the number of students, right? So that makes 17 plus 11, you will get 28. So how many students are there? If half is 28, that means entire population will be twice, right? Because half and half makes one whole, so twice of 28. So that will make 56. Option 4. Am I going too fast? Okay. If not, then we'll proceed on to the next question. So next one, we are taking from MAHA BODHI school. And this is question 32. Right, let's take a look at this question. Yeah, you got it, Ravana, correct. Okay, Sarah had some cupcakes, so she gave 2/9 of her cupcakes to her friend. Now the fact that it's 2/9 of her cupcakes, that means total number of units makes up 9. So if I were to draw a model, I will have to draw 9 units that makes up the total number of cupcakes. So this is to the friend, and 6 cupcakes to her neighbor. We're not so sure how to proportion this out, but anyway, if she has given 2/9 of her cupcakes away, that means the 6 cupcakes would not be part of that 2 units, isn't it? So let's take a look at this remaining portion. Okay, this remaining portion, she is going to give 6 to her neighbor. So I'm going to bring down this remainder and I'm going to take out 6. Okay, this goes to the neighbor. Then she had 15 cupcakes left. So this portion is what is left. How many cupcakes did Sarah have at first? So this is where I put in the question mark. Okay, now just based on the remaining portion over here, you realize that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. Yeah, you can find out what 7 units is by taking 6 plus 15. So 7u is made up of 6 plus 15, and that gives you 21. So once you know what 7 units is, next logical step is always to find what 1 unit is. For fractions or for whole numbers questions that have to deal with units, usually when you have found what 1 unit is, you are quite close to getting your answer. Yeah, so that is one thing you want to work towards. Let's say if you are lost in a question, you're not so sure how to solve it, always work towards getting what 1 unit is. So if 7 units is 21, 1 unit will be 21 divided by 7, and that gives you 3. So once you know what 1 unit is, we can find the total number of cupcakes Sarah has at first. So total units would be 9. So total cupcakes will be 9 times of 3. So that's the answer. Okay. Able to understand so far? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, take some time to go through this. Okay, let's take a look at this question. This is question 40, so more challenging than the others. Okay, so let's see. Damien bought some fruits. 1/5 of them were pears. So maybe let's list them down first. We have pears, and that's 1/5. 2/3 of them were apples. So apples make up 2/3, and the rest were oranges. So if oranges are not mentioned, and we know that there are 3 types of fruits in all, what we can say about the proportion of the total of the 3 fruits, we could put that as 1 whole, right? And if we know that the total is 1 whole and pears take up 1/5, apples take up 2/3, we can find a fraction that is taken up by oranges. So to find the proportion of fruits that are taken up by oranges, we take 1 whole, take away 1/5, we take away 2/3. So we realize that, oh, okay, we have 3 terms here, 1 whole, 1/5, and 2/3 that are of different denominators. How do we resolve this? How do we resolve this? We have to convert something, right? We have to convert what? To the same denominator, yeah? So the denominator will be 15, right? So we have 15 out of 15, take away 3 out of 15, take away 10 out of 15, yeah? Do you all manage to get that? Okay, so proportion of oranges will be 2 out of 15. Okay, now next the question says that he bought 1,176 more apples than oranges. So what does this mean? So by this you have to compare apples and oranges. Apples 2/3, oranges 2 out of 15. It's a bit difficult to compare 2/3 and 2 out of 15 because the denominators are different. So what we could do is we could change 2/3 into something out of 15, and that would make 10 out of 15. Okay, now, so now we can see he bought 8 out of 15 more apples than oranges. Yeah, because we find the difference in proportion between apples and oranges. That makes 10 out of 15. Take away 2 out of 15, which is 8 out of 15. And the question says that this is 1,176. Okay. Whew. So what can we say about the units? How many units would give you 1,176? That would be 8 units, right? I hope you have got that. So 8 units would be 1,176. Okay, so how we get the 8 units is actually from the numerator here. Now, question asks you, how many fruits did he buy in total? Total fruits is always seen from the denominator. So if we know that 8 units is 1,176, we could find 1 unit first, and subsequently we can find the total, which is 15 units. Okay, so 1 unit will be 1,176 divided by 8, and that will give you 147. So 15 units, we multiply it by 15 times over, and we will get 2,205. So that's the answer. Okay? Yeah. So Fafana, you got it right. Yeah. Anyone is not so sure about the explanation? Is it clear? Okay, then we'll move on to the next question, if everyone is okay. Now we are going to look at Henry Park Primary School. Question 18, MCQ. Let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at this question now. It says that in a library, 3/5 of the people were adults and the rest were children. Okay, so just based on, again, the first sentence, we are able to indicate something on a model. In primary 4, when we do fractions, it's actually quite heavily dependent on drawing of models. Yeah. Unlike primary 5, so next year when you proceed on to primary 5, you'll realize that you're slowly starting to move away from model drawing and going into something called using units, using parts to solve word problems. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. If the question mentions that 3/5 were adults, just based on the 5 units here, actually tells you that the total number of units is 5 altogether. Okay, and I'm going to indicate the 3 units here as that of adults. And the rest were children. So this means that the other 2 units here refer to children. So far, so good. let's move on to the next sentence. 3/4 of the children were girls. So if 3/4 of the children were girls, what we are going to do now is we are just going to focus on the last 2 units here. And we need to split this 2 units into 4. Because denominator says 4, that means out of the total number of children, we need to have 4 equal parts. So from 2 big units, we could split it into 4 smaller units by halving each unit. Okay, and if 3/4 of the children were girls, that means this portion over here, 3 units, girls, represented by girls, and the last 1 unit here is represented by boys. At this point, you realize that the units, we have 2 different types of units. One is the bigger unit, one is a smaller unit. So what we could do is we can resize the bigger units into 2 smaller units. So that will make all the units of the same size become the same size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to halve the units here as well. So adults will make up 6 units, 6 smaller units. Girls will make up 3 smaller units, and boys will make up 1 smaller unit. Okay, and now that we have all the units in place, let's take a look at where we can place 40. There are 40 more girls than boys. So girls, we have 3 units. For boys, we have 1 unit. So if there are 40 more girls than boys, we are looking at the difference between girls and boys, and that makes 40. The difference will be 3 units, take away 1 unit, which will be 2 units, and this is 40. And now that we know 2 units is 40, we could find 1 unit. 40 divided by 2, 20. And how many adults were there in the library? Now, 6 units. Yeah, we have already indicated in the model. So 1 unit, 20. 6 units will be 6 times of 20, which will be 120. Yeah. So hopefully this question is okay with you. All right. We're going to move on. So this is question 42. Take some time to digest the question before we discuss it. Just an observation, if you notice, the questions that I have posted this time around are taken from MCQ, taken from the short structured questions, and taken from the word problems. So you realize that fractions is actually quite a major topic. Yeah, so we don't want to say, oh, okay, all the fractions questions will definitely appear in section A and B, and we just like, section C is just something else. Actually, no, it's a very big topic. So be sure to cover different varieties of questions on this topic. Yeah, you'll benefit from all the practice. Okay, let's take a look at the question here. Jenny baked some cupcakes. She gave half of her cupcakes to Puma and 1/3 of her cupcakes to Luke. Jenny had 50 cupcakes left. How many cupcakes did Jenny bake? So she gave to Puma, gave to Luke, and then after that she had a certain number left. So if we were to represent this in a model, just a very simplified model, this is the total number of cupcakes that she has. She gave half to Puma. And then she gave 1/3 to Luke. And she has 50 left. Okay. Now, what we could possibly need to find first is 50. If we were to represent this in terms of a fraction, what would it be? So we know that if she has baked some cupcakes, the total number of cupcakes would be 1 whole. I'm going to put a bracket here and put down 1 whole. So this will be the total number of cupcakes. So let's find the fraction of cupcakes left. So we take 1 whole, subtract half, and we subtract 1/3. Okay, and like one of the previous question whereby we have two different two fractions of different denominators, we need to find what you call a common denominator, right? So the common denominator of 2 and 3 will be 6. So 6 out of 6 minus 3 out of 6 minus 2 out of 6. And so we have 1 out of 6. And that makes 50 cupcakes. Okay, so we have the fraction represented by 50 cupcakes. So how many cupcakes did Jenny bake? If 1 unit of cupcakes makes 50, that means 6 units of cupcakes, 6 being the total because 6 is the denominator, would be 6 times of 50. So that makes 300 cupcakes. Yeah, so that's the answer to the question. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. The next question is taken from Red Swastika School. By the way, if you find that the explanation is going too fast, do let me know. All right, you can just unmute yourself and let me know. All right, thanks. Okay, now let's take a look at this question here. It's question 45. Wow. Okay, take some time to try this out. All right, let's take a look at this question now. Mrs. So's monthly salary is 5,589. She gives 1/9 of it to her mother, and she spends 2/3 of it on daily expenses. If she saves the rest of her salary, how much did she save in a month? Okay, so she has a total of 5,589. So this being her total, again we represent it by 1 whole, right? Okay, so 1/9 of it to her mother. Perhaps I'll write down the M for mother. So 1/9 of it, 2/3 of it on daily expenses. So daily expenses, and the rest would be saved. Okay, quite similar to the previous question that we have done. Could we first find out the fraction of the monthly salary that was saved? So let's see, fraction of salary that was saved. That will be 1 whole, take away 1/9, take away 2/3. So you realize that looking at the denominators, we have 9 and we have 3. 3, you could change it to 9, yeah, by multiplying by 3. So we have 9 out of 9 minus 1/9 minus 6 out of 9. Yeah, you're left with 2 out of 9. Okay, so in terms of the fraction of money saved, we could write it down as 2 out of 9. So if how are we going to find this amount? We have the fraction. How could we find it in terms of dollars? So let's see. If the total is 5,589, that means we can say that 9 units is actually 5,589. Yeah. Could we find 2 units of it? So the middle step that is missing would be to find what 1 unit is, which is 5,589 divided by 9. Yeah. So 5,589 divided by 9, we will get 621. And 2 units, we just multiply it by 2. That will be 1,242. This is a long method. Now, there's actually another method that you could use. So I'll put this as M1, method 1. There is a method 2 that you can use, not by using units, but rather actually it's a fraction of a set. Okay, you realize that it's 2/9 of a set that contains 5,589. So to find the amount that she saves in a month is actually 2/9 of 5,589. So straight away you will get 1,242. So both methods are workable. It's just that method 1 takes up slightly more time, slightly more steps. Yeah. So if you could try this using method 2, and if you're comfortable with it, yeah, go ahead. Because if you have less steps to achieve the same answer, that means higher chance of getting it right with less careless mistakes. But if you are not confident, then just go ahead with whatever that you are comfortable with. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to the next question. All right, I think we have about 2 more questions to go. Now, questions taken from SCGS. Question 27. Let's take some time to work this out. Okay, let's take a look at this question now. This question is a bit more tricky. Mrs. Lee had 4 kg of flour. She used half of it to bake cookies and had 2/3 kg to bake cakes. So how much flour was left? Okay, if you notice, she had 4 kg of flour. There's a unit mentioned here, right? However, when she used half of it, half has got no unit indicated. So this half here is actually talking about a proportion of the 4 kg, half of it, okay, not half a kg. So if you have taken 4 kg, you subtract half from it, might want to rethink your step. Okay, and next, she also used 2/3 kg to bake cakes. Now, in this case, the second portion of flour that was being used has got a kg there. So that means that you can subtract one portion from the other. So let's see how we're going to work this out. She used half of it to bake cookies. Now let's see amount of flour used to bake cookies. If it is half of it, that means you have to half the 4 kg. So you could take 4 kg divided by 2, or you could do it this way, half times 4 kg. Yeah? So I'm going to put the word or here. So from here, you'll realize that the amount of flour used to bake cookies is actually 2 kg. Now, and she used 2/3 kg to bake cakes. So from here, we can find the amount of flour that was left. So flour left is actually total of 4 kg, take away 2 kg, we take away another 2/3 kg. If you find that subtracting so many numbers at a go is difficult, let's try to work this out first. So 4 subtract 2 makes 2. So 2 take away 2/3. If you could work it out mentally, that's great. But if you are not able to, you could regroup 2 into 1 wholes, 3 out of 3 minus 2/3, and that will make 1 whole and 1/3 kg. So you all managed to get this answer? I hope you were not tricked by the question. Yeah. It's very common to come across questions whereby the unit, they take it out so as to kind of trick you into thinking that you have to take, let's say in this case, 4 kg minus half, where in actual fact it's actually 4 kg divided by 2. So just take note, especially where the units are not mentioned, it's a proportion. Yeah. Okay, now we are going to look into the last question. Question 41. Take a minute to work this one out. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll have to get ahead with this question now. Time is running out. Hopefully you're halfway through it. This one is, I find this more tricky than the rest. Let's see. Lily is 37 of her mother's age. Okay, now when you have 2 people mentioned here, or 2 different types of things that are mentioned, and you have one as a fraction of the other, the numerator usually refers to the first item, first person, and the denominator will refer to the second. Okay, so in this case, for Lily's age, we would say that it is 3 units, and her mother's age represented by 7 units. Okay, and her mother is 49 years old now. So we could say that 7U is actually 49. Now that we know 7 units is 49, next logical step, we always want to find what 1 unit is. So 1 unit will be 49 divided by 7, and that will be 7. And we can find Lily's age. Lily's age is 3U, so that makes 3 times 7, 21. So I'm going to put 21 on top. Okay. I hope that you have got to this stage. You found both of their ages. Okay. Now, in how many years' time will their total age be? 100 years. Ooh, how are we going to find that? Like what? Guess and check? Anyone has an idea? Okay, let's take a look and see. We want the total age to be 100 years. And we know that her mother's age, Lily's mother's age, would definitely be more than Lily's age, right? Okay, so maybe let's draw a model. Okay, so mother's age, Lily's age. Mother definitely older than Lily. Now we have to try to fill in the blanks in the model over here. Now, what we know in terms of ages is that For every year that Lily's mother gets older by, Lily gets older by the same number of years. So let's say Lily's mother is 49 years old now. 1 year later, she'll be 50. Lily will be 22. Now, what happens to the gap between their ages? It remains the same. If it's 2 years later, Lily's mother will be 51 years old and Lily will be 23 years old, and the difference between their ages will also be the same. Hey, so that means that the difference between Lily and her mother's age will always be the same. So let's try to find the difference between their ages, and when we have found that, we could put that value over here. Okay, so let's find difference between Lily and her mother's age. Okay, so her mother is 49 now and Lily is 21. So the difference between their ages will be 28. Regardless of how old they are, the difference of the ages will always be the same. Okay, so I'm going to put 28 here. Now, looking at this model, let's try to find out what 1 unit is. If we can find out what 1 unit is, then we know the age that Lily will be when both their ages, Lily and her mother's age, will be 100 years old. Okay, so 2 units, it's 1U and 1U, 2 units plus 28 gives you 100 years. So 2 units will make 100 minus 28. So that gives you 72. And 1 unit will be half of 72. That makes 36. Oh, all right, so now we know Lily would be 36 years old when Lily and her mother's age is 100 years. Now, how many years time would that be? So we see that Lily is 21 years old now. Okay, and in a few years time, she will be 36 years old. And what we want to find is how many years does it take for her to get from 21 to 36? So the number of years will be 36 subtract 21. So that makes 15 years time. Yeah, any of you managed to get this answer? This one is really tricky. Yeah? Okay, wow, okay. Estelle actually got it right. Okay, so this is a star question, all right? Do take note of this question. It's tricky. Yeah, but if you understand the idea behind it, I think yeah, you'll be doing fine. Okay, now I hope that you found these 2 sessions beneficial towards the SA2. And one thing that I would like to emphasize is to really keep calm when you're doing your practice, when you're doing your revision. Sometimes it's very natural for us to be anxious, yeah, and worrying about all the things that we do not know. But it's important that when we are calm, we retain what we have learned, we retain the knowledge. When we are anxious, nothing goes into our minds, seriously. Yeah. Okay, and I would like to end off with sharing with you that next year I will actually be conducting live online maths tuition for P5. So if you find that this platform of learning actually benefits you, I will be doing it next year. And for P5 students, I'll be doing it next year for P6 as well if you are keen to follow up with me. Yeah, so you can drop me an email or you can send me a message via my Facebook page or my blog and let me know so that I can share more with you. Yeah. And for those students who may be keen with a face-to-face session, I'll be starting the lessons in December, okay, on Thursdays and Fridays, 5:30 to 7:30, and I'm located next to Bangkok MRT station. Yeah, you can actually walk from the station to my place. If you're keen, do register soon as places are very limited. Yeah. Okay, and this is my last slide. So if any of you actually came in during the middle of the session and you missed the front part, don't worry, I'll be uploading this on my YouTube channel, learning channel. The entire session will be up there. So do go back and relook at the slides that you have missed out. Or for some of you who have sat through the whole session and you want to listen into some of the explanations, especially the last question, because you would like to, let the concept sink in, just feel free to do so. Feel free to also share this with your friends. Yeah, and I hope you'll enjoy this session, and all the best for your coming exams. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.